Hey everybody, I'm with Jennifer A. Nielsen right now, the author of the Ascendant series and Resistance and A Night Divided, among other things. She is a New York Times bestseller, and I'm so lucky to have this opportunity with her. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for having me on. Um, so I'm Jennifer Nielsen. I live in the mountains of northern Utah, and I love spending my time up there. I love good movies and great books, and any time with my family is just the best.
Alrighty. Okay, so I've been told that you have a new book coming out called Iceberg. Is that true?
Yeah, well, Iceberg came out in here. I'll grab it. Hold on. Iceberg came out in last March,
Oh,
so a few
March.
months ago.
Forgive me.
Yeah, but this one is it's a mystery set on board the Titanic. So yeah, this is my newest release.
That's amazing. What is it? What just it's about the Titanic? What's the main character like?
So the main character is a girl named Hazel Rothbury, and Hazel is being sent to New York by her mom because she needs to go to the workhouses there to try to earn money for her family. And when Hazel gets to Southampton, she realizes her mom hasn't sent her with enough money to get a ticket on board the Titanic.
Oh,
And so Hazel stows away and sneaks on board the ship, and which is going to present, of course, complications of its own. But as Hazel kind of gets integrated into um, the Titanic itself and fascinated with it, she realizes she has this great opportunity because she wants to be a journalist, and she realizes she's on the maiden voyage of this major new ship, and she thinks, if I can write a news article and then sell it when I get to New York, I don't have to go to the workhouses. So she begins to investigate the ship, and as she does, she discovers that there might be problems beneath the surface, and so as she learns about the ship, the readers learn about the ship and a lot of the lesser known facts about the Titanic.
that's interesting. I You hear a lot about Titanic books, right? There are several of those, but none of them have
Mhm.
aspects like that. That's I'm excited to read it.
Well,
Um,
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
what inspired you to write a book about the Titanic?
Well, this is how it went. This is like just the true story. So my great grandmother was in Sweden, and she was an indentured servant there, meaning that
Oh,
she
really?
was given to another family, yeah, to work off her family's debts. And she hated it. It was a terrible experience for her. By the time she was age 14, she had finally earned up enough money to pay off the debt, and she had some savings of her own. And so she didn't want to go back to her family because they had sold her as an indentured servant. And so she bought a ticket to the United States. That's how my family got to the United States. And I was telling my editor about this. I was like, this would be maybe I would love to tell the story of my great grandmother. And my editor's like, yes, let's do that. Could we maybe though set it like 10 years earlier, and instead of leaving from Sweden, she leaves from Southampton, England? And I'm
Oh,
like, I'm not putting my great grandmother on the Titanic. Like, I would love to write about it, but
I
I'm
want her
not
to
going to.
live.
But they're right. Yeah, like all that she went through. I'm not like, and the Titanic for you. So I said I'd love to write this story, but I'm not going to put my grandma on the ship.
So is it started as your grandmother, right? But then changed. Does the main character remind me of her name? Uh,
Hazel.
Isel?
Hazel.
Hazel,
Hmm.
sorry. Does she have similar personalities or traits that your grandmother had?
Oh no, Hazel is her own sort of character. I mean, she's adventurous and curious and all of these wonderful things that we love to see in characters. But one day I'll write about my great grandmother, but I'll let that be her own story, and I will just let Hazel's story be Hazel's story from now. I don't. When my great grandmother gets her story, it should belong to her.
Completely understandable. So I'm sure this has been asked a lot, but a lot of people, I asked some of my friends, and they were wondering, at what point did you realize you were going to be an author? Was it just like you woke up one day and you're like, that's what I'm going to do, or what happened there?
You know, it's for me, it was kind of an off and on sort of a journey. Like in sixth grade, it was the first time I really realized that I like that was even a job option for me. But then I tried writing, and because my writing wasn't good because I was in sixth grade, I just kind of switched off, and I was like, nope, I'm not going to be an author.
Mhm.
I didn't seriously come back to it until I was an adult, and I had been teaching, and I'd been a debate coach and doing all these like very high energy, high involved things. And then my oldest son was born, and all of that just high movement and action just stopped. And now I've got this baby who eats and drinks and poops, and there's nothing happening. And so I started to write just to give myself, something to do with my imagination.
Mhm.
And I just loved it. And that's when I really got serious about it. And I just thought, well, somebody is getting published. Like, why not me? Like, I, I think I could do this. And it didn't mean I was good, and it didn't mean I was ready. But that very early in my adulthood is when I figured out I love doing this.
That's interesting. That right, like that. You didn't start as a writer. You didn't always know, but at one point you're like, well, I. That's very interesting. What what was the
Thank you.
first story you wrote? Uh, at this time, I guess.
Like as an adult
Yes,
or
as an adult,
sixth
when
grade?
it started becoming your hobby.
Oh, so I was writing like suspense, like women's suspense, like romantic suspense novels.
Okay,
And I
that's
one of
not
my
like
early
your
ones.
novels now.
No, no, no. It was like because that's what I thought I was as a writer. I thought, "Ooh, this will be fun." And I was writing this story about this girl who sees a murder, and they know that she's seen it. And then in her escape from them, she gets like hits her head, gets amnesia and stuff. And it was a fun story to write. The problem is that's not how amnesia works. So it was
Mhm.
totally implausible, and it just didn't the writing wasn't there. But it's what I had fun with. And so that was the opening one. It just wasn't good, but it was a start.
All right, that's super interesting. So, what books would you say of the ones you've published? What genre do you think they fit under?
Yeah, so I think I've just invented my own genre because, I mean, False Prince, right? It's a fantasy, but there's no magic. And it takes place in history, but it's not a historical. And I write, Titanic is a historical, but it's also a mystery. And so I feel like I write in a lot of genres. So I've just invented my own, which is danger. I write about characters in a lot of danger, and that unites nearly everything I write.
Wow, I could end the video right there. Jennifer Nielsen does it her way. Doesn't fit in the box. That's awesome. That's crazy.
Yeah, just, invent your own, right? If it doesn't exist, you create it.
That is so interesting. Do you read often?
Yeah. Yeah, as often as I can, and that's important, right? In the same way that you couldn't be a football player and not know who won the Super Bowl, right? So if I'm going to be a writer, I've got to be a reader.
What genre do you like to read?
I read pretty much all over the map. I read a lot of classics. I still love suspense and mystery novels. I'll read pretty widely. And I think it's important because it rounds out who I am as an author. If I'm getting influences from a lot of different genres, it's why I'm able to write a lot of different genres, because I'm not limiting myself to one track. So I write and read both of them pretty widely.
That's so interesting. Would you say you have like a preference?
No, because I tend to believe that a great story is a great story.
Mhm.
And so no matter, where it gets shelved in a library or a bookstore, if it's a great story, then it is worth reading. And so I'm pretty varied in it, and I think that's just a good thing.
I like that. That's awesome. Um, I was curious, are you friends with any other authors?
Yeah, yeah, it's a relatively small community. And so we tend to meet each other at different events and then see each other and cross over in different ways. But and really for the overwhelming margins, people who write for, authors who write for young people tend to be extraordinary people. It is
Really?
almost unheard of that I would meet somebody and not think that is a tremendous, cool and great person.
I
So
wonder
yeah,
why that is.
what's that?
I wonder why that is.
Well, I think if you're gonna write for young people, I mean, it's hard to be just, this horrible person and be like, "Man, I hate everybody, but I wanna write for kids." I mean, it doesn't sync very well.
Doesn't connect.
And so yeah, and so you tend to find people who are very supportive of each other and very positive, and they write for young people because they care about young people, and so it's an amazing community to be part of. And most of the authors that I meet, I will do my own fangirling just for the honor of getting to meet them.
Really?
Oh,
Do
heck
you,
yeah.
is there anybody you'd like to shout out now, like a favorite author?
Oh, like that I have?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Or
man,
just
no, because
someone
I
you know
would feel so
personally?
bad. I would feel so bad for who I didn't call out. I will give you an example of an author that of how weird I can be for fangirling. So when False Prince first came out, I knew nobody. I was so new. I didn't know anybody. But on Twitter, I get a tweet from R.L. Stine, the author of
No
Goosebumps.
way.
And he just writes me to be like, and he just said, "Hey Jennifer, I just wanted you to know how much I loved The False Prince." And I, who knows nobody, I'm like, ah, and I was like, I've got to say thank you. There's just one problem. I don't know his name, right?
Um,
Because I didn't want to say thanks, RL. That seemed weird. And I didn't want to say thanks, Mr. Stein, because he had called me Jennifer. And my husband's like, oh, say your tweet gave me goosebumps. And I'm like, no, that's the worst. And so I just did a thanks with an exclamation mark, which was the point. But that was so lame, right? But the thing is, I never was going to guess his name because obviously, if your initials are RL, then your first name will be Bob, right? And it was Robert L. Stein,
mhm.
and I consider him a friend and a really great man who cares deeply about kids and about reading. And so it's such an honor to be his friend and to see the amount of good he has done for people. That would be an example of people I can fangirl about always.
That's awesome. So speaking of kids, I'm told you have kids, yes?
Yes.
I was curious of of the books that you've written, what are your family members' favorites to read?
Of my books, um, I for my oldest son, I think False Prince
Mhm.
is his favorite. Um, for my daughter, I don't know. I would actually have to ask her that. For my youngest son, I think it's a book I wrote as part of a series that's called Horizon, which is kind of a survival
I
story.
read those.
I
Those are
think at the
good.
yeah, I think at the age I wrote it, he was really into like that survivalist culture, and so he thought that was pretty cool.
That's so awesome. Which I'm gonna go reverse here. Which books do your family not like?
Of mine?
Hmm.
Oh, I
Or
I
do they
think
not
they're
tell
smart.
you?
I think they're smart enough to just discuss that without me. No, I mean, the thing is, like, I totally recognize that, like, just because I'm mom or wife or sister, whoever, there's no obligation to like my books, and that's fine, right? Because it's art, and you're never going to get universal agreement on art. And so more important than that they are reading my books is that they're reading at all, and that's totally fine. And so I write for who I am. I write the stories I like, and I hope that other people will like them too. But it's all right with me if they're like, "Hey mom, this one really did not resonate with me." That's okay. I mean, they don't get dessert,
Oh,
but we're still friends. Yeah, no dessert. No. But there has to be some penalty.
that's an interesting take on that. I really like that. So we're gonna switch gears here. What would you say your
Um it's interacting with fans, with readers.
really?
That to me is a really incredible sort of thing. And it's because all right, so there are authors that I love because I loved their books. And I just love that author because I invited that book into my mind and my imagination and my life. And maybe that book influenced me and changed me, and it stays with me even today. And so I just have love for that author. And I understood that when I was giving that, but to be on the receiving end of it was really an interesting experience. And so I recognize that if I'm meeting a young reader, and it now becomes a really important space, because for that moment that I get to interact with them, I want it to matter to them because something I wrote mattered to them. And so to actually get to meet one of my readers is a really big deal to me, because without them, it would just be ink on a page, and they brought the characters alive, and so it's my favorite thing.
That is so awesome. Do you do you have like is there like a worst part about being an author?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's it's hard to get, to pour your heart and soul into something, and then maybe you get a bad review, or maybe nobody's reviewing it at all,
Oh
or
no.
you just well, and I mean, it happens, right? Because that's the way it happens. And so at a certain point though, you just kind of have to figure out, like, why do I do the thing I do? Like, would I write if it was for free? Would I write if nobody ever read any of it? And at the end of the day, if you can say yes, I write for the love of writing, then it makes those hard things easier. But for me, I don't read my reviews. And so I don't care anymore. Like, if somebody wants to put hate on one of my books, I mean, I guess that's up to them, but I don't let it into my life because they're doing their job, which is to leave a review. I'm just going to do my job, which is just to write the best story I can. And that's how I deal with those really difficult sorts of things.
And can I just say the books that I have read by you have definitely been amazing stories. I think you have done a fantastic job on all
Well,
of
see,
them.
you would get dessert. That's a really great
Yes,
example.
let's go.
Yes. Hey, it's on. But really, but it's also okay. I understand. Like, there's books I have loved and that other people would one-star review. And it's not
Really?
hate. It just doesn't resonate for them, and vice versa. books that other people love, and I'm like, I just didn't connect with it. And that's how art should be. That's good art, is that different people see it different ways. That's totally fine.
Wow, just wow. Have you have you ever written a book and then have have you ever wanted to rewrite one of your books like later?
Yeah, all of them,
Oh,
all of them. Because,
really?
all right, have you ever gone back and found something that you wrote maybe a year or two ago, and you're just looking over it and you can see how bad it is, right?
Mhm.
Usually, right? And you look and you're like, what was I thinking with that? And so what our normal reaction is, oh, well then I don't have talent. But see, it's just the opposite. You should look at your old writing and you should see the flaws, because it means you are better than when you wrote it. And so, Iceberg, that I wrote, I wrote this a couple of years ago. I hope that I am a better writer now than when I wrote this. And so I should look at this and I should see the flaws in it. And so, of course, I would want to rewrite those, because it means I'm better than I was.
That's amazing life advice, right? You should be better, right? You should that I love that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
you should look at your past and see the flaws. That's good.
so you've read like The False Prince and said, "Oh, I wish I hadn't done that," or "I wish I'd done it a different way."
No, I mean the general format of it, I would keep exactly the same, but I might look at, like a sentence or something and be like, that is so lame. Or, hey, I didn't even describe this really important thing. And I was a big miss. And so it's not like I toss out the whole book and start from scratch, but I definitely can see where it was a weak choice in writing or a weak sentence that I would make better now.
That is so fascinating. Um, all right. So, oh, I like this one. So, if you were to meet one character in the Ascendant series, who would it be, and what would you want to talk to them about?
I mean, Sage, and I I would talk to Sage about his dad, and really talk to him. I didn't figure out until book 2 that Sage had some really serious issues with his dad, and feeling accepted by his dad, and was he worthy to be who he was with his dad. And so you see in book 2 that I start to really explore that relationship a lot more, because in book 1 he kept that hidden, and that was just, he played that very close, and I didn't begin to understand that till book 2. And um and it would be a fascinating thing. I will tell you, there was many years ago, and it was while I was writing the False Prince series. My family took a trip to Jamaica, and when it was time to come home, we're sitting in the airport, and I'm looking right across the seats, and here is this kid who was like the embodiment of Sage. He looked like the way I described him. He had the same attitude. He just was like Sage. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is unreal. And so I can't help it. I know it's a little bit creepy, but I was just staring at this kid,
You have
because it
to.
was like it was seeing Sage, right? And then we boarded the flight, and this kid was across the aisle and up only one row. And I'm like, now I can just watch him this whole flight. And I'm like, this would be Sage on a flight. And then we're in customs, and his family is only 2 up from us in customs. And I was like, this is like, I'm sorry. And I wanted to say something like, hey, look, I'm not a creeper. You are just the embodiment of this fictional character I created, who I may never see again. But that's a weird conversation. So mostly I had to just stop staring at this kid. But it was so nuts to just see somebody who could have been Sage. And so yeah, if I could meet somebody, I would love to just sit down and talk with him.
That's amazing. Remind me what this kid looked like?
He was a little, like for his age, a little shorter than average height. He had like brown hair, but a lighter brown hair. It was a mess. It was too long. He had a bunch of friends around him, and he was just messing with them in a very fun way. He wasn't being mean, but he was just, and he was the absolute center of the group. And so everything was happening around him. And he smiled a lot, and then when nobody was watching, he would get really serious. And I just thought, that's Sage.
That's so fun that you, in a way, got to see your character in real life.
Yeah, I mean, kind of weird, but for good reasons.
Once in a lifetime, would you say?
I hope so, because honestly, I can't be a creeper like that again. That's just a one-time thing.
Alrighty, fair enough. So your books tend to be in your danger genre, right? If
Mhm.
if you decided one day that you're like, well, I want to write in a different genre, what what genre do you think you would be interested in?
Oh, I mean, like, it would still be some form of a danger story, I think. But no, I would love to do, I mean, one's a danger genre. I would love to write a horror novel,
Really?
just straight up scary story, just to see if I could do it, just to see if I could do that idea. And I kind of have the idea. It's kind of gelling in there. One day it'll all come together. And and there is a romance that I'm going to write one day that I don't know if it'll be a book or a screenplay, but no danger there. It's just going to be just everybody has to kiss at the end.
So is that more like realistic fiction or
The horror, definitely not. The romance, yeah, I want to set it in three different time periods, three different timelines. And so 1890 and 1960 and 2020, except advance it just a little bit more for whatever year I'm writing it in, so that you have two historical, like very old post World War II and modern day. And then I want all three timelines. Like there's three different love stories, but eventually all those timelines blend into, they
oh,
connect to each other. Um, so all the stories rely on the other stories to, I'm not explaining it well,
I
but they, all the
understand.
good characters kiss.
In the end, we all figure out how we all know each other and the reader makes sense of everything, and that's interesting.
That, that's
Right.
one day, one day.
And you said you have just a small, like, smidge of an idea for a horror story, yes?
Yeah.
What does that look like right now?
All right. Well, I all right. Well, there's two, but I'll tell you one of them, which is the less scary one, but it's just better
Oh,
developed.
less scary.
But
Okay.
oh yeah, no, this one, I mean, it's not, well, okay. This is my scary one, if I
Oh,
can develop it. It's like a it's like an multiverse story, right?
okay.
Where Earth is occupied by in different universes, but they all occupy Earth. And so there's different civilizations and cultures that all share this planet, but in different realms. So we don't cross over, we don't see each other, we're just in different realms. But in one of the realms, there is a massive catastrophic earthquake that breaches the barrier between us and them. And trying to remember what I call the villains. It's the, oh, shredders. And it is
Like
a
the
they are
Ninja Turtle
shredders.
villain?
Oh, well, no, because now I have to change it because Ninja
Oh,
Turtles.
shoot, I shouldn't have
Anyway,
said that.
no, you should. Well, they are like, you don't see them until they are about to attack. Like they're completely invisible.
That sounds that sounds truly terrifying. I will definitely get this book if or when it comes out. I don't want to take any more of your time, so if you had one last piece of advice or anything to share, what would it be?
Advice, like the way I got published, it's not by being the best author or being a great author. It's about being willing to fail, and then to every time you fail at it, you find a way to get better and try again. So to everybody, whatever your dream is, the thing you want, it doesn't matter if you fail, just get better and try again. But don't you dare give up. That's my final advice. Don't ever give up, and eventually you get your yes.
Wow. This is Jennifer A. Nielsen. She is an amazing author and an even better person. I am so lucky to have met with her. I will be putting her YouTube channel in the description. And make sure you check her out on Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it now for updates and things like that. And I hope you all have an amazing. All right.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you